Welcome back to the Power Couples Toolbox, and today we're going to be covering over gratitude and appreciation for your spouse. My name is Nathan Bird, and this is my lovely wife, Lacey Bird, and I appreciate you very much and thankful for this opportunity to build a podcast and videos for people. So, how do we go about talking about this today?
Well, one thing that we see a lot in not just our own marriage, but in other people's relationships is we start to get focused when you're with somebody so much. Like we live together, we work together, we travel together, we sleep together, we do everything together. And when you're so close to somebody, it can be really easy to focus on all their tiny little ticks and faults and everything that they're doing wrong that frustrates you. Like for him, he hates that I tend to walk into the kitchen and somehow leave all the cupboards and drawers open. I don't even remember going into all the cupboards and drawers, but somehow they all end up open and I just walk out like
I
that.
don't even know how she does it. Like, how can you
And then
open so many drawers?
and then, another thing is like the toothpaste, right? Like the toothpaste, I don't know why, but I just never put the lid on and I squeeze it from the top rather than the bottom. And he just can't stand how messy it gets and is frustrated about it, and there's those little things. And
But hey, to my what I do as well, I remember sometimes I'll leave my shoes where you don't like them.
like on the
Okay.
bed, he literally puts his shoes on the bed.
Okay, no, I'm just getting ready. Like I'm just putting it there because I don't want to bend all the way down, you know what I'm saying? So
The
it's like,
white bedding, puts his dirty shoes right on the bed. It
okay,
makes
they're
perfect
not dirty
sense.
shoes, okay, but no, the little things like that, right? And then like maybe there's a piece of clothing on the
Yeah,
furniture,
somehow he'll just
right?
get undressed and it's like he just got like transported out of his outfit and his clothes are just like dropped like right there. Like they're right there.
I mean, guys, don't you ever do that? Don't you ever look at your spouse and you're like, golly, like he always does that, or she always does that?
But if you focus on all those little things, that's exactly what you're going to find more of. You're going to continue to find more little things that you're frustrated and annoyed with until really you're like, I just can't even stand this person. This person is so irritating. And when you take a step back, you realize how little those things actually are. And when you look back at why did you marry this person and what state of mind were you at and where was your heart at and what was your relationship like when you were dating this person and why you got married in the first place. And when you do that, you go back to that gratitude and appreciation, right? And just like with anything, gratitude is the biggest thing that can really change your heart towards anything. And instead of focusing on all the little things that you can't stand about that person, starting to focus on the value that that person really brings to your life. Like, he is an amazing person and he challenges me outside of my comfort zone. He is a great friend of mine. There's all these bigger things that are way more important than where he leaves his clothes and where he leaves his shoes. I've kind of just gotten used to picking the shoes up off the bed, but it's like now when I do it, I don't feel that same sense of like annoyance and frustration, like, oh, this guy is going to make me lose my gasket. Instead, it's more of, okay, this is just one of his weird little quirks that he still hasn't figured out.
Well,
And
and then in addition to that, it makes me want to, in return, give you what you're giving me, right?
yeah.
So it's like the standard that you're setting is now the standard that is being set in my life. So I follow what you're setting. And that if you're setting an attitude of gratitude, then I want to follow that, right? And if vice versa, if I'm setting an attitude of, dude, you suck, then you're gonna be like, well, you suck too. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and you're
So
not really going to enforce positive change in somebody's life, even with those little things. Like, by the way, can we acknowledge how great I've been doing with the toothpaste roll?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you're crushing it.
because it's it's when you love somebody and when you're grateful for somebody, you want to do things in return that don't stress them out and frustrate them, right?
Hmm.
Like you want to go out of your way. But when somebody's constantly like berating you and
Yeah.
barking down your throat, that didn't make sense, but barking down your back.
Barking down.
What is
I
that
think
saying?
no, they understand what you're
Okay.
saying, man. When you're constantly on somebody's
Yeah,
back,
that
or
does
right?
not make them want to go out of their way to take stress out of your life, right?
True.
And so it really goes both ways when you can take a step back and look at, okay, what am I grateful for about this person? And you know what? The first time you do it, you might have two things because you have conditioned yourself so much to just focus on the negative. And if you're in that place, like you definitely should start writing down things that you're grateful for about that person.
Definitely.
And then and just do it daily and start really changing your heart about what value does that person bring to my life? And don't fall for the temptation of like, well, pros and cons. What do they not bring to my life?
Exactly.
Instead, just focus on the positive of what does this person really bring to my life? And again, maybe the first time you do it, there's one or two things. The second time, three things. The more you do it, you're going to start really looking for things in that person, and you're going to start looking at them differently and almost admiration, like just watching them like, wow, this person really does bring so much value to my life and I love them so much. It'll really change your relationship rather than focusing on all the frustrating little ticks that they have, because we all have them. And it doesn't matter if you're like, all right, I'm done with this person, I'm
Hmm.
going to go find somebody that's perfect. They're going to have the ticks too. So instead, just focus on really fertilizing and nourishing your marriage and your relationship and starting with that heart of gratitude, of admiration. What do I love about this person?
I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in here. You're just on a roll. No, really, it's truly about setting and knowing your long-term goal, right? Because in the midst of those little things, you ask yourself, well, why did I marry this person? And for how long did I marry this person? And that's where your contract versus covenant marriage comes in. That's where you need to have an understanding of your long-term goal, right? So if we're in the midst of a situation where we can learn from each other, right? A learning opportunity,
Growth opportunity.
we can immediately go back to, look, we're in this for the long haul. We got 80, 90 years, 100, right? We got 100 years together. And let's just look at that as opposed to what this small little insignificant thing. Now, like she says, if those insignificant things start to turn into these little quirks and all these things that start to build up your anxiety towards that person,
Resentment.
you need to let that person know, but in a loving way, that this right here in your life isn't the best that you could be, and it's also not the best that I think you could be. So let's work on that area together, because I know I have faults of my own. First, address your own faults. And then, secondly, let's work together in order for us to find a win win situation for this little thing that has now turned into something that I need to talk to you about. So it's really all in how you come to that person, situation, or quote unquote problem you're facing, and that's important.
Yeah, and ultimately the whole thing is recognizing where the health of your heart is towards that person. And when you're with them, do you want to be around them? Do you want to have intimacy with them and talk with them and have deep conversations? Or are you just constantly like frustrated and irritated with them and looking and like everything that they do, you're looking for something wrong in it? And when you recognize your heart towards that person, then you can start adjusting it. But if you're looking at that situation as that person is in the wrong, well, really, you're in the wrong, because it doesn't matter who that person is. You've built up resentment and you've built up a hard heart towards that person. And you can't have a flourishing marriage or any relationship for that matter built on the ground of resentment. And so, yes, talking about some of these things is extremely important, but first working on your own heart towards that person, because if you go to a conversation and I start listing out all the things that I'm annoyed with about you, that's not really that productive. But if there are some bigger issues that do need to be addressed, like picking up your clothes and putting them in the hamper, no, like bigger things that really do need to be talked about, then make sure that you're not coming through a place of resentment first.
I really enjoyed that little section. I mean, gratitude and appreciation. I love you so much, and I appreciate you very, very much. And guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Power Couples Toolbox, where we help to create a supportive environment for your marriage to not just survive, but to thrive.